All right, good afternoon everyone. Thank you for coming for this wonderful subject of reviving the tradition of Vada. Krishna says Vada Pravadata I am the Vibhuti. All right, so my first 15 minutes. In this time, I want to establish why 5561 BCE is the year of Mahabharat war. In my subjective conviction, it is the only year that qualifies as the year of Mahabharat war. But in a scientific language, I would say this is the best claim among all available claims for the year of Mahabharat war. All right, so let's go. This is the framework. What you see inside the triangle are the 5 elements of the logic of scientific method or scientific discovery. So to solve a problem, you propose a theory, then you find a way to objectively test that problem. Then you draw inference, and in the process you use some background knowledge. Many times what is forgotten is some of the key other things that are required. We take it for granted. I learned hard way that you cannot take it for granted because many people don't realize it. So some of the things you need is Tantra Yukti, Vijnana Buddhi, the elements of Vijnana Buddhi, or Tarka Shastra or a Nyaya Shastra. And that's my name, Ashtakarana Kshipti, the eightfold method. All right, so out of that central 5 elements, I have put it here. If there is any claim or if there is any theory, it has to have these 5 elements. Must. There are no ifs and buts. And they should all triangulate or whatever, the pentangulate, Otherwise, we don't have a functional theory. What is the basis of this? Of course, this is the exactly same framework used in the modern science, but you also see that in our Shad Darshanas. For example, this is from Patanjali, Pratyaksha, Anumana, Agama, Pramanani, which is that triangle, explanation, prediction, testing. And if you don't do that, what happens is mithya, so if you don't do that, mithya jnana atadrupa pratishtam, viparyayo mithya jnanam atadrupa pratishtam. If you don't follow that method, it is going to lead to a false knowledge, viparyayo, opposite of that. And the last one is also important. They come in a sequence, by the way, first Samadhipat 7, 8, 9. Shabda jnananupati vastu shunyo vikalpa. If you make a claim, but if there is no supporting evidence, to back it up, it leads to vikalpa, delusion, confusion, and we will see a demonstration of that today. The 5 elements. So the Albert Einstein's quote at the top says, a theory decides what can be observed. Which means you have to have a universal generic statement for a theory. The statement for my theory for dating Mahabharata is all astronomy observations of the Mahabharata text are actual, factual, visual observations of the sky of Mahabharata times. So then you go to the next one. I extracted every single astronomy observation I could find, and I know that I missed some. Some other people are finding them and says, Nilesh, did you look at this? And so I have a few more. So 300 plus. Then for each of these, we have to find a way to objectively test it. And did you test it? The answer is yes or no. And if it's no, we have to state it. Then we make a triangulation and draw the inference. Sometimes we draw the inference from an individual observation. Sometimes we draw inference from a multiple set of observations, like group of observations. And then we also need to state what is our background knowledge. For my theory, my claim, all that you need is the text of Mahabharata. Now you can use multiple texts of Mahabharata. There is a variations among them, Bhandarkar Oriental, Chitrashala, whatever, and the astronomy, the knowledge of astronomy, modern astronomy, Indian astronomy, because you need to know the names, like Arundhati is Alcor and Vasishtha is a Mizar, and so on. So what I did is I extracted every single observation. This is one of the 11 principles of Vijnana Buddhi. Prithakkaran, first separate. Don't jump and start doing something. First separate all the evidence. So back in 2011, I extracted 215. Over time, I kept on reading Mahabharata. Now I have 300 plus. Now, how does this evidence comes to us from Mahabharata text? It is Arsha Kavya. It's a poetry. And the evidence comes, the astronomy evidence or any other evidence, comes in the form of a nimitta, which means signs. It also comes in the form of upaman, metaphors, simile, analogies. It also comes in the form of a alankar, like a poetic embellishments. So that's how the evidence comes to us. Now what I did after that is another principle of Vijnana Buddhi is a classification. So the one in the blue here, This is a phenomenon due to the precession of equinoxes. These observations are influenced by the precession of equinoxes, and what they allow you to do is they allow you to define what is this range within which you search for it. Just as a quick example, if you want to know Taj Mahal and somebody is coming from outside India, what would you say? Oh, I want to see a Taj Mahal. You say first go to India, then you say go to UP, then go to Agra and so on, and you narrow it down, go along the bank of Yamuna and so on. So it starts here and narrows it down. Okay? Now the second set of evidence, it is due to the near Earth phenomenon. These are the positions of the planets, moon, eclipses, the comets, all of that, and they allow you to nail it down the specific year. Okay? Just a quick, you might know this story. A drunkard is looking for his lost coin, and a police officer comes there and says, what are you searching for? He says, I'm searching for my lost coin. The police officer asks, did you drop it here? He says, no, I dropped it 2 kilometers away. And then the police officer says, so why are you looking for it here? And he says, well, because the light is better here. Okay? So that can happen. You may search in the wrong area because it's convenient to you. Okay? And this is from Upanishad. Na samparaya pratibhati balam pramadyantam vitta mohena mudam. It's not a child's play to figure this out. Okay? Quickly, this is another principle of Vijnana Buddhi. The same classification, just an analogy. Number of you would have used the vernier caliper. There are two measurements. To take the approximate reading, first you take the main scale reading. And then to fine tune, you look on the secondary scale, the finer scale, match it and do calculation. This one is similar to that approximate reading, the main scale reading. If you do this wrong, you are assured that you will get a precise answer, but it is precisely wrong if you make a mistake here. Okay? All right, so using that blue evidence, I'm going to show you the range. There is a 21st century written there which went outside. Based on the Arundhati Vasishtha observation, you can find a bound, so that goes from 11,091 BCE to 4508 BCE. So if that statement of Mahabharata is true, as Vyasa said it, the only time Mahabharata can happen is between these two dates, nowhere outside, because you will not able to explain Arundhati walking ahead of Vasishtha. Somebody else very recently, Siddhartha Chabra, he wanted to test my observation. So he looked at the latest astronomy data, JPL data, and what he found is, with the more precise measurements coming from Hubble telescopes, actually that interval became tighter. Now tell me, is it a good thing or a bad thing? It's a good thing. Okay? Now if I happen to have my claim here, it was a bad thing. You follow? But if it is inside, it's actually a good thing. Okay? Now just to show you my reference point, 5561 BC, it falls within that. Bhishma Nirvana evidence, phenomenal evidence. Forget Arundhati Vasishtha for a minute. Bhishma fell on the 10th day of the war, then war continued for 18 days, and then after that they went to the bank of Ganga after doing the Preta Kriya, and they lived on the bank of Ganga for 1 month, Masam Ekam Bahi Purat. Then they came back to Hastinapur. Yudhishthira was crowned as a king. He assigned the palaces, he assigned the offices, and Krishna said, now let's go meet Bhishma. When they met Bhishma, Krishna told Bhishma, Panchashatam Shatcha Kuru Pravira Shesham Dinanam Tava Jivitasya. You have got 56 more days to live. Okay, that 1 month can be 30 days. Because everyone else is stuck in 58 days, I just said, okay, let's take the most conservative number. I took 27, 9 plus 27 plus x. You understand the x? From the time he came back and went to meet Bhishma, plus 56, that gives you minimum of 92 days. And if you are not convinced, you can read all of these. They all lead you to the conclusion that minimum of 92 days, Bhishma was on the bed of arrows, leading to the day of the winter solstice. So when you look at these limits, now you combine them with additional evidence. This is the 18-day moon evidence, and that gives you another limit. If you fine tune, that gives you another limit, and essentially it gives you a window of 1600 years, that bracket where you should look for the year of the Mahabharata war. Now then why are people looking there, somewhere else? I gave you the metaphor because it's very convenient. Okay? In most cases it is the beginning of the Kali Yuga. That's where everyone begins. Okay? And we will find that's the case today as well. Okay? Quickly, See, again, you won't see it, but these are like 7 squares. Too bad, you know. Again, we will fix that in a other time. There are 7 squares here of the same size, and I'm going to go fast. If I ask you remove any of the 3 segments, meaningfully reapply and turn them into 5 squares. Some of you would say, okay, I can do that. Others say, well, I won't, and it's impossible. I'm not going to give you time because of my 5 minutes there. But if you remove one here, and one there, you end up with something like this, and those 3 elements I'm going to apply there. Just trust me, you know, that's like 5 squares there. What I'm saying is the Mahabharata evidence is not a straightforward evidence. It's a jigsaw puzzle. In fact, you know the story of a Ganesha and a Vyasa, you know, the whole discussion. So then Mahabharata says, how is the Mahabharata written? Grantham granthi tada chakre munir gudam kutuhalat. It's full of curiosities, full of mysteries, and full of twists, granthi. Okay? So if you just apply a very simplistic understanding, you will end up in a disaster. In fact, I'm going to show you how rich is this evidence looking from the earth. Now, too bad guys, you know, you're not going to see this here. Okay, this is Saturn here position, that's a Jupiter position, Mars is up there. Okay, so forgive me for this. This is Krutva Changarako Vakra Jeshtaya Madhusudana Anuradha Prathete Maitram Samshaya Manniva, that's going Vakri again. Okay, let's see. Samvatsarasthainancho Graha Prajvalito Vibhav Vishakhaya Samipasto Bruhaspati Shanaischaro. Okay, so you are going to see Saturn here, you are going to see Saturn here, and you know, if you keep on going, you are going to see Saturn there. What I mean by that is, these planets are described in the context of these nakshatras. You cannot just take one, put it here and say, hey, I have explained it. No, you can't. You have to explain this jigsaw puzzle. In fact, I'm going to go fast, and there are like 35 plus different planetary evidences, planetary evidence. And they all, if solved, lead to one specific year, 5561 BCE. Quickly, now that's my work, but more than 125 years, there are astronomers in India, there were astronomers in India, and not a perfect solving the puzzle like I did, but they had reached the conclusion based on only planetary evidence that Mahabharata war happened sometime between 5000 and 6000 BCE. And the evidence exists in a published literature, and in a Q&A I can go into that. All right, there are 2 conflicting observations. One is Krishna's peace mission, what time he leaves, okay, and I'm sure you know we will hear more about that. And the other one is a Balram Tirtha Yatra. These 2 observations do not match for 5561 BCE. Now, what is important is they do not corroborate 5561 BCE. Listen to this carefully. They do not corroborate any other claim for the year of the Mahabharata war, no matter what people say. Okay. Also, they conflict with rest of the 300 plus evidence. All right, so I'm actually quickly at the summary here. So 5561 BCE is the year of the Mahabharata war, and the beauty of that 5561 BCE is, you know, it has put every other Mahabharata researcher, you know, into a conspiracy, getting together, coming together, fighting against 5561 BCE. Well, guys, that is the power of 5561 BCE. Thank you.
I have only been studying the Mahabharata maybe around 15 or 16 years. I am originally a filmmaker who made Krishna history a myth, and then I started studying all these things, especially after the challenge which was given to me by Nilesh Bhai over here. I thought, well, let's see how much merit my claims have and how much merit the other claims have. So let's get into it straight away. So that's my position statement. 3067 BC is the only date of the Mahabharata war which proves the internal consistency of the 4 timelines, which is Krishna's mission of peace timeline, war timeline, Balrama's pilgrimage timeline. You heard about those Balrama's pilgrimage not being corroborated by anybody else. We are corroborating it. Bhishma's Moksha timeline, I'll show you sky maps corroborating Balrama's timeline. Bhishma Moksha timeline ending on Magha Shuddha Shukla Ashtami critically examines, filters, principal planetary observations, moon phases, moon rises. We have filtered the cometary phenomena from the planetary phenomena, which is especially happening in chapter 3. We are corroborating cometary data including Halley's comet being at Pushya, eclipse season with 2 Aparvani eclipses on either side of a solar eclipse. And then we have birth dates of Krishna, Balrama, Yudhishthira, Abhimanyu, etc., along with the Yadav civil war. We also give an alternative explanation for the Arundhati Vasishtha observation. Right, these are the timelines of the Mahabharata, which is the war timeline which you have got over Do I point? Yeah. So you got a war timeline, basically 18 days. You got Balrama's timeline, which is over here, which is the 42-day pilgrimage, which must end on the 18th day of the war, and that must end on a Shravan Nakshatra. So because Pushyena sam prayatosmi Shravane punaragataha, and then that cannot be a Amavasya, but that has to be very near a Amavasya, because that is ending on the day of the Gada Yuddha. So that is Aparvani Rahu grahas the sun. This nobody else can corroborate this. We are able to do it, and we will show you how it is done. Okay. And then there is the Krishna's mission of peace and various other timelines we will show you. This, my original talk is nearly 2.5 hours, because I am doing a workshop showing exactly how to dissect every other claim for the war. So this I have done 2 workshops so far, and I am going to show you exactly how each of these things can be corroborated. So this is the first timeline, where I have said it is the 4th timeline, but it is really the pre-war timeline of Krishna's mission of peace. So Krishna starts on a Revati Nakshatra, and what is happening is that he is reaching in 3 days at Hastinapur at this point. Forget about all these other things, just concentrate on what I am saying initially. So he reaches over here, and in a few days after that, basically on Pushya Nakshatra day, which is over here in near Cancer, what is happening is that talks fail. Duryodhan says that he is not going to accept anything. 4 days later, there is a ride. This is all given in Udyoga Parva. And the 4th day there is a ride which is occurring. Krishna rides with Karna, and there is a Krishna Karna Samvad. At Krishna Karna Samvad, basically Krishna says, Saptamacchabi devasat amavasya bhavishyati sangrame yujyate tasma tamuhu shakra devatam. So in 7 days there is going to be a Amavasya. That Amavasya is going to be at Jeshtha. Because that Amavasya is at Jeshtha, 7 days before, this day is got to be Krishna Ashtami. Okay, this is all Tithi Vara. You cannot fudge this data just like that. This is a Krishna Ashtami. This is got to be Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra, because you got another reference over here saying this is Pushya Nakshatra. We know from the day counting of the nakshatras which nakshatra is where. This cannot be fudged. Any other year, all this falls apart. And that is the reason no other day, no other date of any Mahabharata researcher will ever fit except 3067 BCE. Now let me show you. From here to here, I have already shown you. Now over here, Karna makes a very interesting statement. And what statement is that? He says, Somasya Lakshma Vyavrittam Rahur Arkam Upeshyati. Somasya Lakshma Vyavrittam. Okay. So the lunar eclipse has already occurred. And where is the lunar eclipse occurring? We know where that lunar eclipse is occurring, because in Vyasa meets Dhritarashtra on the eve of the war. On eve of the war. Not after the war, not during the war. He meets on the eve of the war. Right? On the eve of the war, what does he say? Alakshaya prabhayahinam paurnimasisya kartikim chandro abhukdivaranascha samavarnena bhastale. What is that? What exactly is that? He is saying there is a lunar eclipse which is occurring at Kartik Purnima. Now Kartik Purnima, where is it actually occurring according to this? So if you look at this over here and you look at this over here, from here if you consider that this is a Jeshtha Amavasya, 15 tithis back we can back calculate this day, because this is 3 days away, Revati, Ashwini, Bharani, max to max Kritika, that is where the Kartik Purnima is actually got to occur, because there is a full moon occurring there. There is your lunar eclipse which is occurring at night. It is actually occurring at night over there. It is a Aparvani lunar eclipse as well, because that is also given in the text. Okay. Right. And so that is what we are able to show you. These 3 points exactly. Tithi, Masa, everything is correlated exactly. Okay. Right. Now, if we go further from this, Rahur Arkam Upeshyati, okay, because he is saying Rahur Arkam Upeshyati, so the next eclipse, because there is eclipse already occurred in the previous one, the eclipse over there must occur at Jeshtha. So the lunar eclipse already occurred at the time of the ride of Krishna with Karna. Both the eclipses, all 3 of the eclipses in fact, must occur before the war. Anybody who shows you eclipses occurring during the war, gone, out of the window, 1. 2, the sequence of the eclipses is important. The lunar eclipse, then solar eclipse, then a short lunar fortnight of 13 days. Whether that short lunar fortnight can ever be corroborated by anybody is a different matter, but short lunar fortnight of 13 days. So nothing can happen, no lunar eclipse, solar eclipse, etc. during the war. Simple. Okay. Now, so all three eclipses already occurred before the war has started. This is the rigorous pre-war timeline which I am showing you. Krishna's departure at Revati, full moon at Kartika with a lunar eclipse at Kartika Purnima, Krishna Karna Samvada, Uttara Falguni Nakshatra, Amavasya at Jeshta, solar eclipse, another lunar eclipse, Aparvani. What is Aparvani? It's a penumbral lunar eclipse. Two penumbral lunar eclipses are seen, and then preparations for month followed by a war which cannot begin on Amavasya. Why do I say the war cannot begin on Amavasya? That is the next point. So, because this is what is happening in 5561 BCE, okay, and there are hordes of researchers who have all taken this point and completely gone off track. Why? Because we know Saptamatchavi Devasat Amavasya Bhavishyati. So, everybody is thinking 7 days there is Amavasya, Amavasya pe Yudh shuru kar do. Let us start the war on Amavasya. Is it true? Okay, let us cross check. Can the war start on Amavasya? Well, you remember Ghatotkach? On the 14th night, Ghatotkach is killed. Okay, there is a spectacular moonrise which is described. People have made all sorts of confusion over here, over this verse. Chandrama Sudite Punaha. Okay, they are thinking this Punaha is referring to some sort of Punaha moonrise. No, it is a Vishram, Yuddha Viram which is occurring. Once the Yuddha Viram is occurring, only after that the moonrise is occurring. When the moonrise occurs, then after that the war will start again. Okay. But people have conjured up dust storms and all whatnot. Okay, what is that verse which is clearing the matter? Tatah kumudanathena kamini ganda panduna. 3 words. Netra anandena chandrena mahendri digalankarta. Eastern moon rise, a moon rise in the eastern sky. You cannot rewrite astronomy textbooks and tell me that this moon rise is occurring in anything else other than a waning phase moon. You can conjure up anything else you like, but this 14th night moonrise has got to be in the waning phase of a moon. So, the war can never start on a Amavasya. It's as simple as that. Okay? Very simple. There is no, you can't do, oh, I'll do this, I'll do that. And it's late at night, the tallying of both points. It's very late at night. In fact, it's around 2:10 in the morning. Okay? That is Drona Parva, 159:42, that verse. Okay. So, Mahendri Diga Alankrita, I have already pointed out. Let me show you the sky map, because you are not yet perhaps getting why this eastern sky moonrise is so important. Because look at the shortening of this arrow. Where does the sun rise from? Sun rises from the east. Yes? Sun rises from the east, we know that. So, the moon is approaching the sun in the sky. When does that happen? Only on Amavasya. See over here, 9th of December, 10th of December, 12th of December, the red arrow is shortening very, very slowly but surely it is shortening. Finally over here, can you see this in Capricorn? In Capricorn you are getting Shravana Nakshatra. Shravana Nakshatra, that 18th day of the war. That morning, can you see this over here, 6:34 in the morning? That is not yet a Amavasya, that is moon and sun. In Jyotish we know this Aparvani Graha, Rahuscha Grasa Aditya. It says Aparvani Vishampate. That is the Gada Yuddha Parva reference. What is that? It is a Krishna Chaturdashi in the morning at sunrise, and then it becomes Amavasya at 4:02 p.m. Okay, fine. You can correlate these other things as well, the moonrise calculation, etc. On the 14th day of the war, if it was Amavasya, it would be 14 times 48, 672 minutes later, 11 hours 12 minutes later. War, if the war had occurred on Amavasya, the moonrise would then occur at 5:12 p.m. But still in the daytime, it is occurring late at night and in the eastern sky. End of game. Amavasya gone. Amavasya start to the war is gone. 5561 out again. Okay, next. Right. So, solar eclipse can only occur on Amavasya. There can be no solar eclipse on the first day of the war. The solar eclipse of the first day of the war of 5561 gone. 3061, because I already told you all the eclipses are occurring before the war. Because Vyasa has met Dhritarashtra when? Before the war. Can any eclipse occur after that? When all the eclipse data is before that. Okay. We are also corroborating 2 sets of 3 eclipses, which I will show over here, including 2 Aparvani lunar eclipses and 2 sets, that is 36 years after the Mahabharata war when the Yadavas are destroyed also, we are doing that. Okay. Cross check, it is Aparvani, it is not occurring at the moment of the full moon. that we have got September 29th, October 14th and October 28th. I'll rush through this one because I want to really get to Balrama's pilgrimage, because nobody else can corroborate Balrama's pilgrimage. The start point has to be the first day of the war, not starting on Amavasya. The end point is the 18th day of the war, ending very close to Amavasya. Rauscha Grasada Aditya Aparvani Vishampate. So some people say, oh, this means cannot be on Amavasya. No, it is Aparvani Amavasya. In Jyotish is a very specific term. Krishna Chaturdashi in the morning, Amavasya occurring later. 18th point, end point nakshatra is what? It says over here, okay? Pushyena samprayatosmi shravane punaragataha. Can you see over here? Pushyena samprayatosmi shravane punaragataha. So, starting on Pushya and ending at Shravana. Why starting on Pushya? Pushya, do you know, all of you buy gold, don't you? When do you buy it? Pushya, don't you? In India, Pushya is one of the most auspicious nakshatras of the zodiac, more so for the royal family. Everything is always done on a Pushya. Balrama has started on a Pushya nakshatra. You cannot start on Shravana nakshatra or any other nakshatra for a pilgrimage. It has to be 42 days and it has to end later. Let me show you the sky map. Okay, there you go. So, he is starting over here on this Pushya nakshatra, which is the next Pushya nakshatra after that thing which has failed over there. You remember that other sky map? Goes all around the zodiac, comes back and all around over here to Shravana nakshatra. Okay, let me show you. We have got the sky maps and we have got exact times. That is the Tritiya, October 31st, Pushya. And there 42 days later, he will end on Krishna Chaturdashi at sunrise, and that Amavasya is occurring at 4:02 p.m. Okay, that's Shravana Nakshatra. Am I telling the truth? I could be lying, couldn't I? Let me show you. There you go. Right, each of these, October 31st, I am giving you nakshatra names, nakshatra times, I am giving you quarter moon, what is happening where. Okay. Let's go further. First day of the pilgrimage, okay, there you go. Altar, moon is coming there, look at the time. This is redshift, okay, 3067 minus 3066 is 3067. Go over there, you will see over there, next morning, that is November 1st, okay, look at that, okay. That is the first day of the pilgrimage, that is Pushya Nakshatra. Now, next, I am showing you this, Raushas Grasa Aditya Parvani Vishampate, okay. What is that? Gada Yuddha Parva reference, look at that. Exactly, moon, sun coming very close together, okay, that is Shravana Nakshatra over there, exactly in the sky. That is December 12th of 3067 BCE, exact, no other, nothing else can ever do that. Why? Because you have to fix this with the 14th day, 14th late night moonrise, which is a crescent moon. Planetary positions, well, okay, we can discuss that, aaram se.
My first question to Manish, would you claim that you understand to a reasonable extent what scientific method is?
Yes.
Okay. So now if you want to ask a question, that's fine, or I can go to Manish. Okay.
You follow.
Very good.
Finish
Thank you. What is the universal and generic statement of your? And when I say your, I am going to say you, Professor Achar, Professor K. Srinivas Raghavan. Okay. Their theory, I mean your theory, for which you claim 3067 BCE as the year of Mahabharata war.
So, my point is that there are 4 timelines of the Mahabharata war. The 4 timelines have all got to agree on certain points. The 4 timelines, pre-war timeline, then war timeline, Balrama's pilgrimage timeline, Bhishma Moksha timeline. 1. 2, the planetary positions have to agree. The planetary positions cannot be just something where, I mean, they have to be filtered from the other planetary positions. According to us, according to our theory, not all the whatever evidence is given in the Mahabharata is actually planetary. Some of it is cometary, according to us, and we are able to prove that. Can I respond? Yeah. So, the point which I am trying to make, for example, there is verse 325, for example. Samvatsarasthayano cha graha prajwalata abhubhav Vishakhayo samipasto Brihaspati Shaneshwaro. So, there are 2 blazing grahas, or luminous if you like, but blazing grahas really, which are placed near, which are Brihaspati and Saturn, and they are placed near Vishakha Nakshatra, correct? No. Now, the issue is that the verse before is very, very illuminating, which hardly anybody considers. Well, even in this verse there is an absurdity which is actually there for anybody who knows Jyotish, which is that Guru cannot be at a nakshatra for 1 year. It is an impossibility from astronomy point of view because it has got a period of only 11.5 years around the zodiac. But the other point is that you go behind that, Saptarishi Udaranam Samachadya Vaiprabham, that 2 grahas, Grahau Tamranano Shakho Prajwalita Vubho, the 2 grahas have got shikhas. So they must be comets. And which other thing can ever do something where it will hide the Saptarishis? No, Guru and Shani can never do that. So, and so on. Okay. So
quick comments and then you ask me a question.
Yeah.
So first thing, so here what I heard is like a 3 different theories. You pulled in astrology when that was required. You pulled in the theory that what you hear as a comet, so we hear as a planets are actually not planets but comets. Okay. So I still did not get the answer. What is the universal and generic statement of your theory? Just to give an example, my statement is all astronomy observations of the Mahabharata text are actual, factual, visual observations of the sky of Mahabharata times.
So but that is my statement from 2008. Actually,
so you agree with my
I
statement?
agree with this.
Excellent.
But not all. The point is simply that you have to filter. You have to filter those.
Which
you
means
have
it's
to
not
examine, separate. Because you said you have to separate.
Which means it's not generic and it's not universal. Your question, please.
Okay. So now my point is that you have taken your Adhik Masa in 5561. You have conjectured a Adhik Masa in 5561 BC.
Yes, I have.
Now you are well aware. Well, at least one Adhik Masa. According to your timeline, which I will show a bit later and you can explain. The point is there is no Adhik Masa in 5561 BC, Shunashepa's method at all.
Shunashepa method. Would you please explain what Shunashepa
method is?
So,
basically observed, it has to be observed, and so the problem is that in 5561 BC, there are only 12 new moons and there are only 13 full moons from one vernal equinox of 5561 BC to 5560 BCE. So the problem which we are coming to is that in 5560 BC also there is no Adhik Masa. The Adhik Masa will accumulate only in 5559 BC.
But what is your question? I mean,
so your problem is that your 10 pre-war,
right?
One is Adhik Masa which you have conjectured is not there. You have taken it to explain your 10 pre-war observations including Balrama's pilgrimage. No, I am asking.
No, I will say I will agree or not. So ask me.
I am saying, do you agree that there is no Adhik Masa?
For my timeline, it needs Adhik Masa. And using the Shunashepa method also that you are describing, I can show that there is Adhik Masa. Now, let me ask you a question. Is there a description of a Shunashepa method anywhere in the Mahabharata text?
No.
Where does it come from then?
No, it is coming from somewhere else. Okay.
No, yeah. I need to know specifically where it comes from.
That I cannot tell you exactly. Okay.
I will be happy to tell you, and I will tell you why that is wrong.
Okay, fine. I mean, but Adhik Masa, I mean, the point is that it is based on new moon and full moons. Basically, and okay, fine. Okay, next point which I am going to say is that you have taken the full moon analogies to explain your war timeline.
That is correct.
Now, the problem is that it is a bit like saying, because it's in the last 70 days of the war, how can you ever say that those are true astronomy observations of the sky?
Great question. Again, I will go back to my theory. What Einstein says, it is your theory that defines what can be observed. My theory is all astronomy observations, all astronomy descriptions of Mahabharata text are the factual observations of that time. All the astronomy observations from Mahabharata text, they appear in 3 cases. Either they appear as a nimitta, as a upamana or alankara. So if anything has a astronomy sense to it, that is an astronomy observation to me because my theory demands it for consistency.
But your problem is that it is an inconsistency, it introduces absurdities. For example, at the 12th day of the war, there is a full moon which is occurring at Kartika Purnima, then there is a 16th day, a full moon which is occurring in Vishakha Purnima, and then a 17th day, there is another full moon occurring at Punarvasu Purnima. In between, there are lunar eclipses 3. I mean, the point is that if you are assuming these astronomy references to be true on 7 days of the war, there is a full moon on every day between 10 and 17. Days of the war.
That is correct.
Is it true?
In fact,
can it ever happen?
Okay, 10 and 17 is not correct. It is
no, it is 10 and 17.
No, it's not.
Dushasan. Dushasan and Arjun.
Okay, from 12
you
to
have
19.
Only quoted.
In fact, from 12 days to 19 days. And yes, it can be assumed as a full moon because if you look at the moon data around the 15th day and you go plus minus 4 days, it's essentially for a practical reason, it's a full moon. So many times the description, you can disagree. I mean, that's the astronomy data. That's the modern astronomy. Same thing happens around the Amavasya. Like Amavasya plus minus 4-5 days, it's almost like a moon has almost no meaning in terms of its illumination. But let's stick to the question and answer. Like, so don't use this time for
Anyway,
showing what's possibly wrong in mind. How many astronomy observations did you identify in the Mahabharata text?
There are 300 odd observations.
So you
which are
agree
there.
with those as far as the
The
number goes?
observations are there.
Okay.
Definitely there are observations. I mean, out of that, only around 27 or so are absolutely critical. They are very, very important. Sorry, yeah, go
Okay.
on.
So so the next question related to that would be, why did you not include all of them in analyzing and reaching the 3067 BCE, and do you recognize that this is unscientific as it breaks the principle of consistency?
No, actually,
You can disagree, and that's fine.
we
but it's on the
disagree.
record.
Yeah, why we are disagreeing is that because, in fact, for example, you have cherry picked the analogies themselves. So on the 14th day of the war, there are two solar eclipse analogies which you have cherry picked. So from our point of view, what we have done is a bit different. What we have done is we have
Hold on. Again, you're going into explanation. Or
we
finding
disagree
faults.
anyway. We disagree.
Disagree. That's easy. So its answer has to be yes, no, disagree. And
Disagree,
and a
because
quick explanation.
otherwise we'll be wasting time.
Yeah, fine.
Sure.
Yeah. So so you are charged that, for example, I'm doing it. I disagree. So we disagree. We agree to disagree. Excellent. Okay. Do you want to ask a question?
Yeah. So I mean, the problem basically, which is occurring in 5561 BCE, is that you have taken Vishakhayo Samipastho.
Again, you are not asking a question.
No, Vishakhayo Samipastho to mean, I'm asking whether you agree that you have taken Vishakhayo Samipastho to mean Jupiter 55 degrees away from Vishakha and Saturn 25 degrees away from Vishakha.
Excellent question. So my answer to that is, the way I take this, the Vishakhayo Samipasto Brahaspati Shanishcharo, is that these Shani and Jupiter, as in the vicinity of Vishakha, equidistant in terms of nakshatras on both sides.
What is your Janma Nakshatra, if you don't mind my asking?
No, I do mind, because it's irrelevant to this discussion.
Okay. So my nakshatra, for example, let us say for a moment,
Ask
hypothetically,
a question, please. No, this
is Hasta. If I were to say, I'm asking you, if I were to say that my Janma Nakshatra, which is Hasta, is actually Vishakha, would that be actually correct?
Excellent question. I'll give you a quick analogy. If someone is flying from America to here and the person says he wants to visit Bhopal and Chandigarh, where would you ask him to fly? Delhi. Reasonable? Okay. Now, Chandigarh and Bhopal may not be equidistant from Delhi, but in a context that makes sense. So you might say, why fly to Delhi? Because they are in the vicinity of a Delhi. That is the logic here. It is a poetry, and that's what Vyasa is using. And it's a Grantham Granthi Tada Chakre Munirgudam Kutuhala.
Yeah, but I mean, we disagree anyway.
Of course. Do you understand the difference between evidence that is due to the long-term phenomenon of the precession of the Earth's axis versus the short-term phenomenon due to the near-Earth phenomenon? In this thing, you discuss only near-Earth phenomenon.
Because your Arundhati Vashishta observation, I actually say that is not a phenomenon which you are talking about as something which is going to decide an epoch.
Great. So a question on that. But do you agree that it's an astronomy observation?
So a momentary nimitta, as a nimitta it is.
It is, right?
Yeah, and we have already we are considering it. Yes.
Okay. So it is an astronomy observation. I have shown it for 5561 BCE, how in 5561 BCE Arundhati can be seen by every one of us here walking ahead of Vasishta. What is your explanation for Arundhati Vasishta observation for 3067 BCE?
So my point is actually pretty straightforward. The Arundhati Vashishta observation, Alcor and Mizar, Alcor never went ahead of Mizar as far as we are concerned, but the observation also depends on the latitude of the observer. So, for example, you are saying that basically that entire paradigm which you have constructed is based on a Delhi observation, but at Bangalore, Arundhati actually is seen to rise and set, and Arundhati actually rises earlier and sets later. So she remains a Pativrata. So is she going to be not a Pativrata in Delhi and going to be a Pativrata only in Bangalore?
Okay, now that is your explanation, that is not my explanation.
But I'm saying,
No, but can you explain that for 3067, Arundhati walking ahead of Vasishtha out of Kurukshetra,
Well,
not Bangalore, because that's not where the Mahabharat war took place.
so there are four other observations which we have got. Every year, actually in June, July and August, Alcor is ahead of Mizar in the sky, and so because there are circumpolar stars between 7800 BCE and 800, well, depending on what book you read and what software you use, 800 to 1000 BCE. So every year in July to August, she is actually ahead. So, we are saying that is the point at which that observation was seen.
Okay, so was it valid for 3067
It
BC?
is valid in 3067 BC.
During 22 November through 9th of December?
Well, in the day at every point, also it is circumpolar. So if you actually go around the day, it is circumpolar. So the question of one being ahead of the other doesn't arise actually.
Okay, so Arundhati Vasishtha observation, which is a long-term observation, which is not true anymore, but is not valid for 3067, but it somehow, you are saying that you can explain it for 3067.
We can explain it, yeah. I mean, it is a nimitta, you see, because the verses before, so the verses before and after are essentially those of a nimitta. None of those verses, from verse 16 to verse 31 and after, are indicating anything more than a nimitta. So we are explaining it as a nimitta.
So they are not planetary or star observations?
We are not explaining, we are not saying it is an epoch. That's the
but
point.
they are not star or planetary observation, they are only nimitta. That's what you're saying.
Nimitta of a astronomy observation.
So they cannot be used as evidence? Is that what you're saying?
It cannot be used as evidence.
Excellent. Let me tell you that in the Udyog Parva, there are references to Saturn, Mars. Okay, for example, Prajapatyam cha nakshatra graha tikshna mahadyati, and those are also nimittas, by the way.
No.
And you are using 3067 is using them as a planetary observation.
So now here is the point. Okay, that particular observation is occurring at two different points. Rohini Pida Sthito Rajan Shaneshchara is one observation, which is Vyasa Dhritarashtra, but Karna is also saying it at another point. Now,
I am saying Karna's observation are also nimitta.
No, well, I mean, if you are
yes or no, Karna's observations are
but
also
for
nimitta.
a year, that is the point, that those things are for a year. You are using them for thousands of years. Arundhati was already.
That's a different issue. That's a different issue.
Arundhati is walking ahead of Vasishtha for approximately 5,500 years before your observation. So how can it be a nimitta?
Now that is a question you should ask me and I will answer.
Well, there you go.
you shouldn't just raise the question. We have a time for that? Okay, 1 minute. Okay, this is how it is. Astronomically, I have explained it. Nimitta, by nimitta, the way the other side interprets that is not just the signs, but as a omens. And when they say omen, they mean it has to be a what you call very fleeting, for a short time. Now, if you look at the astronomy history of India, in the whole entire history, I mean history of Earth, but let's not go Earth, let's say go 5 lakhs years, 10 lakhs years. In fact, the only time Arundhati went ahead is that 6,500 years, in the millions of years. So if you start looking at that millions of years of time span, then even it is going ahead of Vasishtha for 6,500 years is like a flicker. And that's the explanation for omen.
But it is.
You don't have to agree, but that's my explanation for omen.
Yeah, I mean, okay.
On the other hand,
I
you
don't
have
agree.
explanation either for astronomy phenomenon or a omen phenomenon for Arundhati.
No, we do. Can I just rebut that very quickly?
Yeah, I will let you.
There are meteor strikes basically which are happening, and there is a astronomy, there is a atmospheric refraction which has changed. So that is a very, very easy way to refute that particular observation. Anyway.
Excellent. Okay.
Okay.
All right.